Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Most Merciful. Traditions tell us that it was on the eve of Laylatul Qadr. And also, it happened to be Thursday night or the eve of Friday, where this young boy, some traditions say he was 9, some traditions say he was 12, some traditions say he was between 9 and 12, some say 7 years old. This young boy, Yusuf, Joseph, comes to his father and he's panicking. He says, "Father, I've seen a dream." Now the dream is a beautiful dream. The dream could not mean anything bad. But for some reason, Yusuf seems to be agitated, nervous, afraid, scared. So what does he do? He runs to his father, Jacob. This, brothers and sisters, is an area where we need to definitely stop and ponder. What do we do so that our children feel comfortable enough to speak to us, confide in us, tell us their secrets, speak of their worries to us? Because the relationship between children and their parents is one which a child wants to speak to their parents. And even if you tell the child that, look, I don't have time or I'm busy or something, they don't want to hear a no as an answer. They want to say, "Dad, I want to speak and you're going to listen." However, when it comes to the teenage years, that relationship starts changing. What happens? You find that teenagers will start speaking to their friends, to their peers, and they no longer want to associate and speak to their parents. And the parent says, when you've been on the phone for 2 or 3 hours with your friend, what did you guys talk about? Nothing. And in order for us to be able to create a trust bond, we're going to have to develop that trust and that relationship from a very early stage and be able to maintain that. So here Allah says, now remember, in the previous verse, He says this is going to be the best of stories, the most lessonful of stories. So the first station that we stop in is this young boy wakes up, he's anxious, he's scared, he's restless, he goes to his father. And he says, "I've seen this dream."
إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين.
إذ قال يوسف. But Yusuf goes to his father and he says, لأبيه, to his father, يا أبتي, my beloved father. It almost means my father who is also my source of comfort, who is my source of inspiration. It's that safe haven. لأبيه يا أبتي إني رأيت 11 كوكبا. I found 11 stars. So he pauses. I've seen 11 stars. والشمس, and the sun. وَالْقَمَرْ رَأَيْتُهُمْ لِي سَاجِدِينَ. I saw the 11 stars, plus the sun, plus the moon, لِي سَاجِدِينَ. They were doing sujood, prostrating to me. Now, before we engage in what this dream means, or how this dream made Jacob feel, and what he told Joseph, we have to ask a very, very important question. Chapter 12 of the Holy Qur'an. Here is the 4th ayah, literally the very beginning of a very, very long, beautiful, mesmerizing, lessonful story. And it begins with a dream. So the question here is, are dreams significant? What happens if I see a dream? Where do dreams stand within the Holy Qur'an? What is the Islamic perspective on dreams? In this chapter, there are 2 dreams. One is the dream of Yusuf alayhi salam, which he tells his father Yaqub, and also the dream within the story of the friends or the individuals that were imprisoned with Yusuf. Within the story, you realize that Joseph will end up in prison. And there he has two friends, two individuals, acquaintances. And both of them claim that they have seen a dream. One of them then goes and says, look, I was lying, I didn't even see a dream. But one of them literally sees a dream. And Joseph interprets that dream for him. Okay, this person, that's the second dream. This person exits prison and he goes about his life, and then somehow he ends up very close to Pharaoh. And one day Pharaoh wakes up and he's like, I see in a dream. And I want to know what this dream means. So this is 3 dreams in this chapter of the Holy Qur'an. The dream of a prophet, the dream of a very ordinary man who happened to be in prison, and the dream of a pharaoh or a leader or a political leader. Are there other dreams in the Holy Qur'an? Absolutely. One of the most famous dreams mentioned in the Holy Qur'an and also in the Abrahamic faiths is the dream of the Prophet Abraham, where he sees that he's sacrificing his son, Ismail. And that is seen as a dream that is meant to be a revelation. Also, Allah refers to the dream of the Prophet Muhammad in the Holy Qur'an, where he promises him that he's going to be liberating Mecca. So where do we stand with dreams? What does the Qur'an mean when he focuses on dreams? The Qur'an, brothers and sisters, clearly, let's talk about dreams of prophets. The Qur'an clearly says the dreams of prophets are real. The dreams of prophets are part of a revelation. They cannot be questioned. So if the Prophet Ibrahim says, I saw a dream, or Yusuf says, I saw a dream, or Ibrahim says, I saw a dream, or the Prophet Muhammad says, I saw a dream, that is revelation. We should not question him in that revelation. Then comes the dream of ordinary people. The scholars have spoken extensively about dreams and what dreams could mean. Some have said that dreams are a collective experience of what we are thinking about. You think about, for example, your work, you think about your family. Let's say you miss your children, you miss your parents, and when those thoughts are so intense where they occupy the majority of your day, the majority of your night, then you get to see that reflect in a dream. Another is a dream that speaks of our past, and that's also connected to our state of mind. Then there's a dream that speaks of the future. The dreams that speak of the future, the popular opinion amongst Muslim scholars is that if the dream is seen outside this specific window, which is the time of Fajr to the time of sunrise, if it's seen in this specific window, it could mean something. It could be a communication between God and this specific person who has seen a dream. Some scholars have said no, it could also be a communication of shaitan trying to break our spirits. Shaitan trying to infiltrate our thoughts. Let's say you're about to start a business, you're about to do something good, you're about to pay charity, you're about to go to the pilgrimage or something, and then you just see a dream, a bad dream, and you're thinking, no, I'm not going to do this anymore because of this bad dream. So scholars have a variety of opinions on what dreams could mean. But Muslim scholars believe that if it's a dream outside this specific window, it absolutely should not mean anything, and we should not think and dwell over it. Now, hypothetically, let's say I wake up one day, and this could happen to any one of us. Maybe some of you listening to me today will say, I've had the same type of dream where when I wake up, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I feel restless, I don't know what to do. So, they start asking people for an interpretation of their dream, which in Islam is something we should not do. What should we do? I've seen a good dream, I feel great, or I've seen a dream that scares me. What should I do? The first thing that we should do is we pay charity, what's called sadaqah. Sadaqah, brothers and sisters, comes in many different forms. You can make a contribution to your local Islamic center, you can sponsor an orphan, you can give a meal to someone, you can buy clothes for someone. It's departing from our wealth for the sake of God. God says this repels evil. So let's say you see a dream that you got in a car accident, your son got in a car accident, your daughter got in a car accident, your father, for example, passed away. What do? The first thing that you do is you pay charity. and you say, God, I am paying this charity so that it repels evil from me and my family. And that's all about the energy that this creates. Why? Because when you go to somebody who does not have shoes, when you go to somebody who's hungry, when you go to somebody who does not have clean water to drink, and it could be one person or 10 people or 50 people. In some parts of the world, it takes less than $1 to give a warm meal to somebody. So imagine you depart from $100, nothing, and 100 people will be fed with a very delicious meal. And even if they don't know you or pray for you, that energy radiates in a way towards you that repels evil. God says, I repel evil from people due to the kindness that they show to others. Not only to other human beings, but even to animals. We have many traditions from the Ahl al-Bayt, from the Prophet and his progeny, that say charity, sadaqah, is also when we spend on animals. You have a pet. In fact, the story goes that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, goes inside one of his gardens and he sees that he has a slave. He's eating, he's taking a bite from his meal, and he's sharing it with his dog, with the guard dog of the garden. And Imam Hussein watches this, and he says to him, the slave says to the dog, he's saying, let us share the blessings that God has given us. Let us share the blessings that God has bestowed upon Imam Hussein, the owner of this garden, and he's allowed us to use it. So Imam Hussein stands at the gate of the garden and he says to his slave, do you allow me to enter your garden? And he says to him, oh, the son of the messenger of God, it is not my garden, it is your garden and I am your slave. He says, no. For when I saw this act of kindness and sadaqah from you, sharing your meal with a dog, I have freed you. And I have gifted you this specific garden and everything within it. And today, I am your guest. Why? Because Imam al-Hussein is the reflection of the kindness of God. If Imam al-Hussein is not there to gift you the garden and everything within the garden, God is there. God is going to see this act of kindness. He is not only going to just repel evil from you, but He's going to enrich your life in ways that you need. Maybe I don't need money. Maybe I need my son to be cured. Maybe I need this problem to go away. God says, I know what the problem is. When you pay charity, I'll remove it from you. So that's what happens when we see a bad dream. And when we see a good dream, traditions say, don't share it with people. Don't go around saying, oh, I saw a dream, this, that, the other. Just say, Ya Allah, I ask you to bless me with your infinite blessings. So are dreams real? The dreams of prophets are real. And some dreams could also mean real. Now, does that have anything to do with somebody who is pious, righteous, prayerful? No. Sometimes God communicates with people that, like this Pharaoh, he was not even a believer, but God communicates with them. And the Qur'an says that's a communication of God to his to his creation. So what is this dream? I have seen 11 stars bow to me. I have seen the sun and the moon prostrate to me, and it's made me nervous. And the way he says, رَأَيْتُهُمْ لِي سَاجِدِينَ means that how can a star bow? How can a star prostrate, do sujood? How can al-qamar, the moon, prostrate? How can the sun prostrate? When he says li sajidin, it means it is the act of those who know what they're doing. The act of people who have intellect. So he's basically telling his dad that the 11 stars are my brothers. And the sun and the moon is you. I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, but that's what I've seen. And this dream has made me very nervous. And he confides in his father. In the next episode, we're going to talk about how the father responds to this young boy and what lessons we can draw between a relationship of a prophet of God with his son and his other children, which obviously did not really have a soft spot for this young Joseph. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.